What's going on, guys? So in today's video, I will be doing a Q&A. I really wanted to do this. A lot of people were asking about it, and I thought it'd be a pretty fun video. I took a bunch of your comments from YouTube and also some from Twitter. We have a good mix of questions here, so let's just get right into it. So for the first question, guys, we have from Zach Certified on YouTube, and his question is, what made you switch from Halo to COD, and which was more fun to play competitively? Pretty simple answer here. I mean, it's a great question. So when I originally switched from Halo to COD, it was because Halo was a dying game at the time, right? I grew up playing Halo, guys. I was a professional Halo player, and I kind of treated it more as a hobby, right? Because back then, you couldn't really make any money unless you were winning or placing very well in the tournaments. And there was only like 6 to 8 tournaments a year. And even then, like if you would win any tournament besides national championship or whatever it was called back then, it was only $5,000 per player. I was getting older. Halo was starting to die. I was, I think, a senior in high school, going to college. I was going to be done. Like it wasn't a possibility of gaming, professional gaming, being a career back then. And so I was like, okay, like that was fun. I had a great time when I was younger, doing traveling, going to these events. I was sponsored by Rebel at a point in time. And then I saw Black Ops 2 Champs, and it looked unbelievable. I mean, not only was the game super intriguing, but the viewership was amazing. It seemed like COD was on the up and up, where for the longest time it was always Halo in a tier by itself, and then COD was kind of below it. And I was interested. I still had the fire to compete, even though I knew Halo was gone the opposite direction of what I was hoping for. But I had to really make a decision, because I was getting older. I wasn't a teenager anymore. Well, I technically was, but I was an adult. I knew that it would be a risky move to make, to try and compete in a new game, even though it was a first-person shooter as well. And I don't know what it was. I think it was honestly the support from my mom when I brought it up to her, because I did still have that fire and I wanted still to compete, and I love video games. But I was going to college at this point, and I decided to make the switch. My mom actually told me, if you want to do this, you got to attempt it full time. Take a year off of college, see what happens. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You can go back to college. Like I said in my previous videos, guys, I was going to be a CPA. That's what I was going to college for. Huge numbers guy. So I took the year off, and it ended up getting pretty crazy. I mean, I ended up being on Curse Black, which had a team house in Atlanta, Georgia. So I ended up moving to Atlanta, Georgia, but I dove right in. Here I am, I don't know how many years later, still doing it, still competing, making content. I'm definitely glad that I did it, and I'm grateful that my mom supported my decision. If she wasn't that serious about me, actually doing this and going full time, I don't know if I would have did it, because I was on the fence. I wanted to do it, but I knew I needed to start preparing for the rest of my life. That is why I switched. And which was more fun to play competitively? I don't think any game that I've played competitively could ever beat Halo 3. Halo 3 on LAN was peak for me, and I don't know if it's just like the nostalgia of it. I was younger. My love for video games in general was a lot higher because I didn't have real life issues. I didn't have bills to pay or anything like that. But I truly think that Halo 2 and Halo 3 competitively was like the golden era. Going into the second question, guys, this is from Sean Dennison. And his question is, what is my opinion on 4v4 without expansion? Do I think it's fair? And it's quite simple. I love the fact that they decided to go 4v4. 4v4 Call of Duty will always be better than 5v5, no matter what. It becomes a more strategical game, a more methodical game. It's not as crazy. People don't understand how adding 2 more players on the map, how it can affect the map and the game overall. So I'm glad that they did that. I really am. But doing it without expansion I definitely don't think that was the right move. I know there's a couple other pros that they voiced their opinion on social media, and it's just because at this point, guys, this is the pro player's livelihood. Call of Duty has gotten to the point, it's franchise now, where you can make a career out of this. I mean, esports in general, every year just keeps advancing and advancing and advancing and growing, but it seemed rushed. Now, I'm guessing they couldn't get expansion teams, I'm guessing, I don't know. You know, you could say whatever you want. If you're good enough, you'd be on a spot. And I'm not even talking about me specifically, because there's a lot of good players, a lot of champions in Call of Duty that won't be on a starting roster to at least start the league. But I definitely think it could have been handled better. But I am glad because 44 COD is superior to 5v5 COD. And I'm excited to see how Cold War plays out. Next question, guys, coming from the homie Jake Gill. Hopefully I'm not butchering that. His question is, what were some of your potential teams this year besides the locked in Surge one? Example, Sam with Hugh, Shotzzy, Illy in the 5th. So there were a couple potential teams. I'll try and rank them in order from highest potential to lowest. The highest potential, which I thought for sure was a lock, was going to be myself, Octane, RCD's, Envoy, and Slacked. When Sam reached out to me to play with him on Seattle, that's kind of who he put on the table off rip. And of course, I was down for that. I think that team looks fantastic. And we were actually in talks. Like, we were talking to them, and I thought everything was locked in. I think it was all until the last moment where RCD's and Envoy decided to go to Chicago. Because like we had talked and everyone was like, yeah, like as the contracts are good, we're all in. Like, we think this team's going to be really good, you know. And then last second, it kind of just backfired. RCD's and Envoy ended up going to Chicago Huntsmen. That was a team that was probably the highest probability of happening. I mean, I wish it would have happened, sheesh. But after that, I would say second team that could have happened. So before we even got to the point of like basically locking in RCD's and Envoy, we wanted to team with Kyler. He's someone I really wanted to team with, and he was down. Kyler really wanted to team with us. He was basically stuck on Envy, I believe, and we were going to go, or Empire, not Envy, right? Dallas. He was stuck on Dallas, and we really wanted to team with him. You know, I think Kyler was the #1 player, if I remember correct, that we wanted to play with, and he was down. It got to the point where we had Dallas Empire contracts from Hastro, but Kyler really wanted to play with Shotzzy and Illy. So those were like his two for sures that he wanted to play with before Clay came in, before Crim came in. Okay, Kyler really wanted to play with us. And he really wanted to play with Shotzzy and Illy, but he would be down to just play with one of them, who I think was Shotzzy, even though he definitely wanted both. But Sam and Jerry didn't want to do it. They didn't want to team with Shotzzy or Illy. And I was kind of the middleman, because Kyler was like, I really want to team with you guys, but I at least need to team one of them. And I'm telling Kyler and I'm telling them, guys, we really want to team with Kyler. Let's take an opportunity with Shotzzy or Illy, and instantly shut down. They didn't want to do it because they were new in the scene. You know, they hadn't proved themselves, which I get it. That's understandable from their side. But I did want that team to happen. Besides the RCD's Envoy team, which I think we were all more comfortable with that choice. But I still didn't want to just completely shut down that option of Dallas Empire. And then the last team, low probability of it happening. There was an org that came in and they only wanted to be in the CDL if they got the 100T team. Now at this point, Priesta was already signed the phase. They want the 100T team. They want at least the core 4 of us. We had talked about it. I'm not going to tell you guys the city. At that point though, guys, so this was later in the roster mania offseason where, you know, me and Sam were basically guaranteed to Seattle. Kenny and Austin were basically guaranteed going to Optic, but we did get in a meeting with them. We did talk it over. It was a possibility. I believe if we were going to do it, it would have been me, Slasher, Kenny, Sam, and I think we were going to try and get TJ Haley to replace Preston. It just didn't end up happening. I think, you know, because this is before COVID. You know, Austin and Ken really wanted to be in LA. This city was not an LA based team. And me and Sam were like, you know, we would love to team with you guys, but they were basically set with, they wanted to be in LA. They had good contracts and everything like that. And they almost, you know, didn't want to screw anyone over, right? I really wish that team would have happened because I really liked who was going to be in the league, but just didn't happen. Those were the 3 teams that stick out to me that were potentials. And honestly, in hindsight, I would have taken any of the teams over the one that we had this year, but what can you do? you know, it is what it is. Next question is from It's Abstract, guys, and he said, if Los Angeles 100 Thieves happen, would you be interested playing for them again? The answer is yes, 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 times a million. Of course, 100T has been by far the best organization that I played for. I love everyone in the company. The fact that they're based in LA, I'm based in LA is a plus. Just from top to bottom, that company is unbelievable company. This is a good one, guys. Kind of a long question from Luca Wicker. He says, does guilt play a huge part in VOD, especially when rewatching the COD? Like sometimes I see a clip of Warzone I did and I feel shit about it, but doing something like that in champs would destroy me. Do you ever think seriously, like if I didn't challenge there, we would have won the tournament? Or if I didn't choke those shots there, would we have won? And really take it to heart? Or is it more like, should I messed up and kind of just not feel good about it? For me personally, obviously this depends on the person. For me, this kind of just depends on the player. Personally, I do more of the latter, where it's like when I'm there in the tournament, right? In the heat of the moment, in the series, whatever the case may be, I just don't think about it. It's like, yeah, I recognize I messed up. You know, I know that I messed up, but I don't let it affect me. But I would say for sure after the fact, every player thinks about that. You know, if you don't win an event, it doesn't matter if you get second or you get 12th or whatever, there's gonna be plays where you mess up and you're gonna look back on them and be like, damn, like if I would have rotated here, you know, if I wouldn't have ego chowed, because it's impossible not to, right? Even when you win events, you still make bad plays, and you know, you'll see and you'll be like, damn, like it would have been way easier if I just didn't do this. So that's a great question, Luca. I think having tough skin and not really letting that affect your gameplay is a huge key that a lot of the professional players have, but not all. I mean, there's some that probably feel that way for sure. Next question, guys, is from the homie Danny Foley, and he asked, what was the reason you stopped playing comp this year? I've heard everyone else on the team side of the story. Was it you didn't like your team, your personal lack of motivation, etc.? It's pretty simple. The team just didn't give the game a fair shot off rip, which is horrible to say. I'm man enough to say it. And like I said, I was part of the reason why. We just didn't like the game in the beginning of it. You know, for me, I'm the type of person that, well, most of the time, I get angry, right? If I'm going 100% and my teammates aren't. Literally everyone on the team wasn't going 100%. It was a lot different because normally right on a team there might be a player that's like one player who kind of, you know, goes off track a little bit, and you're like, dude, I'm not going to be going 100% every day in practice if you're not. Like, you need to get your shit together. But for us, it was literally everyone. It was hard for me to get in rhythm, and I'm sure it was hard for everyone else on the team. Like I said, this was a team issue that we had. It wasn't just one person. I think I personally got scapegoated. I talked to Sam about it later in the year, and he obviously apologized to me, and he had said, you know, it was a mistake. He wished we would have done a different roster move than benching me in the beginning of the game. You know, at first I was okay with it because I was like, okay, like I'm just gonna get my mind right. It's only for an event. Let me prove that I have my motivation. You know, it's not like I lost my drive to compete or anything like that. And then it just kept going and going, and you know, they didn't make any sort of improvement at all during the year. Then it got to a point where like I was pretty upset just because I do feel like it was a scapegoat move. And I even said when I was, you know, in the meeting with my GMs at the time, and they had asked, is this an individual issue? What? And I said, no, like it's a whole team issue. Like, we need to get our heads out of our asses, all of us, including myself. And I think some of the players on the team just try to save themselves. That's basically why I didn't play competitive this year, which sucks. Obviously my fault for even putting myself in that position to be a scapegoat, but I learned from it, I grew from it, and I definitely learned that I can never allow that to happen again while I'm competing. Another good question here, guys, from Eduardo Healy. He asked me, how did I become so dominant without a thumb? Now, if you guys don't know, I don't have my full right. I wasn't born like this. It was an accident. It was a tragic accident when I was a baby. For me though, it almost feels like I was born with it, because it's not like it happened when I was 7, you know, 10, like in the middle of my life. It happened with no recollection for me, because I would think I was 1 or 2. So I basically had to go my whole life doing day-to-day activities, not even playing video games, figuring out how I could get things to work for me. I kind of just kept that with me when it came to gaming. I don't really hold my controller any different. You know, I have to tilt my controller a little bit to the side because I obviously don't have the length in my thumb. You know, the years of grinding, I just got used to it, and you know, it was comfortable. It wasn't like a situation where I was uncomfortable ever with it. A lot of people are mind blown by it. I mean, at the same time, I do think it's crazy, I guess, because I'm so used to it. I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, this just feels normal, you know. Next question, guys, is from the homie Luis Garcia, and he asked me, what is the hardest part about being a pro? And for me, there's a few ways I could go about this. First, I would say I would definitely like to touch on the stereotype of being a professional gamer and just what people think it is. That's got to be one of the hardest things, because a lot of times when you tell people who don't get it, they're like, what? Like, how could you ever be stressed? You're getting paid to play video games. Like, you know, you don't have to do hard labor. You don't have to do this, do that, you know, whatever the case may be. They don't see behind the scenes. And what I mean by that is being a professional gamer, professional esports player, whatever you want to call it, it is very similar to being a professional athlete. Obviously not in the physical aspect of things, but you got to think, if you're a professional athlete, right, whatever sport you're playing, you dedicate your whole life to this. Even in the off season, you're training. Well, majority of professional athletes, right? There's some that are probably just naturally gifted. They're just getting a paycheck, whatever. You're training in the off season, like not only your whole life practicing to get to this point, but then once you make it, you're training in the off season. When the season comes around, you're traveling, you're sacrificing time with your family, time with your friends, time for basically anything, because you're eating, sleeping, breathing your craft. And it's the same when it comes to being a professional esports player, right? You're always trying to improve at whatever game you're playing, no matter what. So you're sacrificing a lot of time. You know, you're missing out on a lot of things, and you know, you're putting a lot of time into what you want to achieve. It can drain you. It's a super stressful job, because then not only are you dedicating so much time to it, not going well, it really stresses you out, because not only are you neglecting other areas of your life because you are so dedicated to being the best, if you're not seeing results, it gives you fire to do better, but you're also like, damn, like I could have been doing this, doing that, having more fun, not stressing about all of these things. There's a lot that goes on. I would say that's the hardest thing. It's not all glitz and glamour. Yeah, we can make a lot of money playing video games, and that's great. I would much rather be doing this than being like an accountant, right? Or another job, but there's a lot of cons that come with it too. Next question, guys, is from the homie Gary Richards. So this is another thumb question. He asked me, if you had the choice, would you want your right thumb back or no? And that one is a tough one, because one side of me wants to say yes, just because when I was younger, I was definitely super self-conscious about it in real life. You know, just because, you know, I was different, I was unique than the normal person growing up. And some people think it's like a cheat code, right? Because I have less movement, but less length, so it makes aiming easier since it's on my right hand, which I don't know. Then again, how could I ever find out, because I've never played with my right thumb? So I feel like at this point, as much as I would love to say yes, it's a part of me, it's who I am, it's, you know, one of the things that makes me unique in life, and I do love that. That's a tough one, but I would probably say no. Next question from ClutchBoy, and he asked me, what made you start taking YouTube seriously? I've always wanted to do content, right, when I was done competing. But for me, I always had the mindset of it's so hard to be a competitor and a content creator, right? When I am intrigued by something, right, and when I want to do something, I become obsessed with it. And I don't know if that's a great trait or not. I become obsessed with greatness in it. You know, I want to be the best at it. As a competitor, I'm playing multiple hours a day, right? And then when I'm not playing, like with my team practice, I'm playing pickup games. And then when I'm not playing pickup games or practicing, I'm watching VOD from the day or VOD from past tournaments and really studying my craft, right? I always just thought if I start focusing on content, I'll be taking away from my competitive craft and being the best that I can possibly be. So when I was benched from Seattle, I had a lot more time in the day. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this an opportunity. And at first it started with Twitch. And then I decided, like, I really want to do things more not in front of of everyone, right? Like, not live streaming. I want to be able to just like be in my own area, make my own content, whatever it may be, and then just be able to post it. I've learned that you can definitely balance it, because when I was younger, guys, like I said, my drive to be the absolute best had me not focusing on anything else. In some ways, that's a good thing. In a lot of ways, it's a bad thing. So that's why I started taking YouTube seriously, and I've been loving it. I mean, it's been so fun. Another question from Senor Pan Tostado. He said, what made you get into competitive Call of Duty? Which I already kind of touched on, guys, so I'm not really going to go to that. But B, if I wouldn't have competed, what would I be doing right now? I mean, I'm 26 right now. Honestly, if I had to guess, I'd be a CPA, I'd be an accountant. I would definitely be doing something business related. Well, it's been about 30 minutes of me recording, guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and end the video here. I don't wanna make it too long for you. I hope you liked the Q&A. If you guys did and you want more in the future and you want maybe the Q&As on different topics, let me know in the comment section below. I would definitely be interested in doing that. I wanted to make this to become more personable for you guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. I think 1,500 or 1,400 subscribers away from 10,000, where I will be doing that special My Story video. I look forward to putting more videos out, guys. Maybe Rocket League, Among Us, Warzone, Cold War when it comes out. So thank you so much for all the love, man. It makes this so much better, and I can't wait to continue. Have a good one. I will see y'all in the next video.